its navigation system. 15. 156 at those levels. The ICBM begins to approach the manned bomber in terms of accuracy. A small upgrade roughly doubling the accuracy of the INS would give it the same 1,500 feet, 460 m/sec as the manned bomber. Autonetics began such development even before the original Minuteman entered fleet service, and Minuteman II had a sec of 0.26 nautical miles, 0.48 km, 0.30 mi. Additionally, the computers were upgraded with more memory, allowing them to store information for 8 targets, which the missile crew scored select among almost instantly, greatly increasing their flexibility. 15. 152 From that point, Minuteman became the US's primary deterrent weapon, until its performance was matched by the Navy's Trident missile of the 1980s. 21. Questions about the need for the manned bomber were quickly raised. The Air Force began to offer a number of reasons why the bomber offered value, in spite of costing more money to buy and being much more expensive to operate and maintain. Newer bombers with better survivability, like the B-70, cost manitimes more than the Minuteman, and, in spite of great efforts through the 1960s, became increasingly vulnerable to surface-to-air missiles. The B-1 of the early 1970s eventually emerged with a price tag around $200 million, equivalent to $600 million in 2022, while the Minuteman III's built during the 1970s cost only $7 million, $20 million in 2022. The Air Force countered that having a variety of platforms complicated the defense. If the Soviets built an effective anti-ballistic missile system of some sort, the ICBM and SLBM fleet might be rendered useless while the bombers would remain. This became the nuclear triad concept, which survives into the present. Although this argument was successful, the number of manned bombers has been repeatedly cut and their deterrent role increasingly passed to missiles. 23. Minuteman I, LGM-30 /B or SM-80 /HSM-80. See also W-56 warhead deployment. The LGM-30 Minuteman I was first test-fired on the 1st of February 1961 at Cape Canaveral. 24, 25, 26, 27, and entered into the Strategic Air Command's arsenal in 1962. After the first batch of Minuteman I's were fully developed and ready for stationing, the United States Air Force, USAF, had originally decided to put their missiles at Vandenberg AFB in California, but before the missiles were set to officially be moved there it was discovered that this first set of Minuteman missiles had defective boosters which limited their range from their initial 6,300 miles, 10,100 kilometers, to 4,300 miles, 6,900 kilometers. This defect would cause the missiles to fall short of their targets if launched over the North Pole as planned. The decision was made to station missiles at Malmstrom AFB in Montana instead. 25. These changes would allow the missiles, even with the defective boosters, to reach their intended targets in the case of a launch. 28. The improved LGM-30B Minuteman I became operational at Ellsworth AFB, South Dakota, Minot AFB, North Dakota, F.E. Warren AFB, Wyoming, and Whiteman AFB, Missouri, in 1963 and 1964. All 800 Minuteman I missiles were delivered by June 1965. Each of the bases had 150 missiles emplaced. F.E. Warren had 200 of the Minuteman IB missiles. Malmstrom had 150 of the Minuteman I, and about 5 years later added 50 of the Minuteman II similar to those installed at Grand Forks AFB, ND. Specifications. The Minuteman I's length varied based on which variation one was to look at. The Minuteman I / had a length of 53 feet 8 in, 16.36 m, and the Minuteman I / B had a length of 55 feet 11 in, 17.04 m. The Minuteman I weighed roughly 65,000 pounds, 29,000 kilograms, had an operational range of 5,500 mi, 8,900 kilometers, 5, with an accuracy of about 1.5 mi, 2.4 kilometers, 28, 29, 30, guidance. The Minuteman I Autonetics D-17 flight computer used a rotating air-bearing magnetic disc holding 2,560 cold stored words in 20 tracks, write heads disabled after program fill, of 24 bits each and one alterable track of 128 words. The time for a D-17 disk revolution was 10 ms. The D-17 also used a number of short loops for faster access to intermediate results storage. The D-17 computational minor cycle was 3 disk revolutions for 30 ms. During that time all recurring computations were performed. For ground operations the inertial platform was aligned and gyroscope correction rates updated. During a flight, filtered command outputs were sent by each minor cycle to the engine nozzles. Unlike modern computers, which use descendants of that technology for secondary storage on hard disk, the disk was the active computer memory. The disk storage was considered hardened to radiation from nearby nuclear explosions, making it an ideal storage medium. To improve computational speed, the D-17 borrowed an instruction look-ahead feature from the Autonetics Filled Field Artillery Data Computer, M18 FARDAC, that permitted simple instruction execution every word time. Warhead. At its introduction into service in 1962, Minuteman I was fitted with the W-59 warhead with a yield of 1 mount. Production for the W-56 warhead with a 1.2 mount yield began in March 1963 and W-59 production was ended in July 1963 with a production run of only 150 warheads before being retired in June 1969. The W-56 would continue production until May 1969 with a production run of 1,000 warheads. Mods 0 to 3 were retired by September 1966 and the Mod 4 version would remain in service until the 1990 S.31. It's not clear exactly why the W-59 was replaced by the W-56 after deployment, but issues with 1. Safety and performance under aged conditions were cited in a 1987 congressional report regarding Figurehead. 32. Chuck Hansen alleged that all weapons sharing the TEPC nuclear primary design including W-59 suffered from a critical 1. Safety issue and suffered premature tritium aging issues that needed to be corrected after entry into service. 33. Minuteman II, LGM-30F. See also W-56 warhead. The guidance system of the Minuteman II was much smaller due to the use of integrated circuits. The inertial platform is in the top bay. The LGM-30F Minuteman II was an improved version of the Minuteman I missile. Its first test launch took place on September 24, 1964. Development on the Minuteman II began in 1962 as the Minuteman I entered the Strategic Air Command's nuclear force. Minuteman II production and deployment began in 1965 and completed in 1967. It had an increased range, greater throw weight and guidance system with better azimuthal coverage, providing military planners with better accuracy and a wider range of targets. Some missiles also carried penetration aids, allowing the higher probability of kill against Moscow's anti-ballistic missile system. The payload consisted of a single Mk-11C reentry vehicle containing a W-56 nuclear warhead with a yield of 1.2 megatons of TNT, 5 pj. Specifications. The Minuteman II had a length of 57 feet 7 in, 17.55 m, weighed roughly 73,000 pounds, 33,000 kilograms, had an operational range of 6,300 mi, 10,200 kilometers, 34, with an accuracy of about 1 mi, 1.6 kilometer. 28, 29. The major new features provided by Minuteman II were an improved first-stage motor to increase reliability, a novel, single, fixed nozzle with liquid injection thrust vector control on a larger second-stage motor to increase missile range, additional motor improvements to increase reliability, an improved guidance system, the D-37 flight computer, incorporating microchips and miniaturized discrete electronic parts. Minuteman II was the first program to make a major commitment to these new devices. Their use made possible multiple target selection, greater accuracy and reliability, a reduction in the overall size and weight of the guidance system, and an increase in the survivability of the guidance system in a nuclear environment. The guidance system contained 2,000 microchips made by Texas Instruments, a penetration aid system to camouflage the warhead during its reentry into an enemy environment. In addition, the Mk-11C reentry vehicle incorporated stealth features to reduce its radar signature and make it more difficult to distinguish from decoys. The Mk-11C was no longer made of titanium for this and other reasons. 35. A larger warhead in the reentry vehicle to increase kill probability. System modernization was concentrated on launch facilities and command and control facilities. This provided decreased reaction time and increased survivability when under nuclear attack. Final changes to the system were performed to increase compatibility with the expected LGM-30 Peacekeeper. These newer missiles were later deployed into modified Minuteman silos. The Minuteman II program was the first mass-produced system to use a computer-constructed foam integrated circuits, the Autonetics D-37C. The Minuteman II integrated circuits were diode transistor logic and diode logic made by Texas Instruments. The other major customer of early integrated circuits was the Apollo guidance computer, which had similar weight and ruggedness constraints. The Apollo integrated circuits were resistor transistor logic made by Fairchild Semiconductor. The Minuteman II flight computer continued to use rotating magnetic disks for primary storage. The Minuteman II included diodes by Microsemi Corporation. 36. Minuteman III, LGM-30G. Minuteman IIIC also W-62 warhead. The LGM-30G Minuteman III program started in 1966 and included several improvements over the previous versions. Its first test launch took place on August 16, 1968. It was first deployed in 1970. Most modifications related to the final stage and reentry system, RS. The final, third, stage was improved with a new fluid-injected motor, giving finer control than the previous four-nozzle system. Performance improvements realized in Minuteman III include increased flexibility in reentry vehicle, RV, and penetration aids deployment, increased survivability after a nuclear attack, and increased payload capacity. The missile retains a gimballed inertial navigation system. Minuteman III originally contained the following distinguishing features: armed with up to 3 W-62 Mk-12 warheads, having a yield of only 170 kilotons TNT, instead of previous W-56's yield of 1.2 megatons. 37, 38, 39. It was the first 40 multiple independently targetable reentry vehicles, MIRV, equipped missile. A single missile was then able to target 3 separate locations. This was an improvement from Minuteman I and Minuteman II models, which were able to carry only one large warhead. An RS capable of deploying, in addition to the warhead's penetration aids such as chaff and decoys. Minuteman III introduced in the post-boost stage, bus, an additional liquid fuel propulsion system rocket engine, PSRE, that is used to slightly adjust the trajectory.